Lipids are the building blocks of living cells in the body. They include, but are not limited to, fats, oils, waxes, and hormones, and are most commonly consumed through plant and animal products. These lipids are made up of atoms that form the hydrophilic head group. This is where the oxygen is present. The head group is an organic functional group known as a carboxyl, which is an oxygen double bonded to a carbon with an OH group on the end. The majority of the molecule is made of the hydrophobic tail, which is solely comprised of carbon and hydrogen. Because of this hydrophobic tail, lipids are non-soluble. This tail makes up the hydrophobic interior of biological membranes. There are two types of lipids, saturated and unsaturated. All carbon atoms have single bonds in saturated lipids and are packed closely together. They are a solid at room temperature and have a higher melting point. Unsaturated bonds contain one or more double bonds between carbon atoms and have kinks in them due to the double bond. They are a liquid at room temperature and have a lower melting point. When metabolized, lipids can release large amounts of energy, serving as a source of fuel for the body. In this short video, we will discuss the digestion and absorption of lipids, as well as the dietary requirements of lipids for marathon runners. Lipids begin their chemical breakdown in the oral cavity. They then continue to be broken down as they travel through the stomach and into the small intestine. Minimal breakdown occurs in the oral cavity and stomach due to the lipases breaking down the lipids being water-soluble, and lipids are predominantly hydrophobic. The bulk of the breakdown occurs in the duodenum, which is found in the small intestine. Once fat globules reach the duodenum, this stimulates the release of bile. Bile is made in the liver, stored in the gallbladder, and it breaks down fat. The micelles in the bile contain a detergent for the duodenum that emulsifies fat globules into triglycerides. This detergent is made up of lectin, cholesterol, protein, and bile salt, which are stored inside the micelles. Now that the fat globules have been broken down into triglycerides, colipase will break the ester bonds to form free fatty acids. Intestinal epithelial cells will now be able to absorb the free fatty acids into the bloodstream. Free fatty acids will aggregate with micelles to cross the small intestine epithelium. Once they have been absorbed, they are reassembled into triglycerides again, but with protein attached. These are called chylomicrons. Chylomicrons will be secreted into the lymphatic vessels and eventually arrive in the bloodstream. If the body needs ATP, the chylomicrons will be degraded into ATP. If no energy is needed, the chylomicrons will be stored. The main source of energy for marathon runners are carbohydrates, but lipids are also important. The largest source of potential energy in our bodies is provided by lipids. It is important for marathon runners to consume essential fatty acids, as they can be used to fuel the body once glycogen stores in the body become depleted. Lipids are found in saturated and unsaturated foods. Marathon runners, as well as everyday people, should avoid consuming large amounts of saturated fats, as they increase low-density lipoprotein cholesterol and decrease high-density lipoprotein cholesterol, which can lead to blocked arteries. As per the Australian Dietary Guidelines, saturated fats to avoid include processed meats, fried foods, and processed sweet treats. Although high-density lipoproteins have risk when excessively consumed, small amounts are required and can be consumed from meats, butter, and cheese. Marathon runners are recommended to consume more unsaturated fats, as it decreases low-density lipoprotein cholesterol and has no effect on high-density lipoprotein cholesterol. Unsaturated fats contain monosaturated and polysaturated lipids. These essential fatty acids can be consumed from olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, omega-3 found in fish fats, and egg yolks. To ensure marathon runners have a sufficient amount of lipids available to be oxidized once the glycogen stores in the body become depleted, It is recommended that they should consume between 50 and 70 grams of lipids per day, majority coming from unsaturated food sources. Marathon runners should ensure that they consume all macronutrients, as it provides fuel to the body and aids in recovery after training and competition.